So welcome at the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust, Nairobi Nursery. We are ready to bring you the elephant feeding time at 3 p.m. here in Kenya. And the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust was officially started back in the year 1977 after the death of David Sheldrick, who was a naturalist and the senior founder warden of the large Savannah National Park. He died in 1977. And this project was started in his memory under the management of the widow, who is now the late Dr. Dame Daphne Sheldrick, who's been running the project since then until 2 years ago when she passed on, leaving the mandate to her daughter Angela Sheldrick, who was running the project together with the mother for about 17 years before the mother passed on. And right now, the project is under the management of Angela Sheldrick. And so we take care of orphan baby elephants and orphan baby rhinos, and later on reintroducing them back into the world. And that's why all the babies you're going to see here today are orphans, and all have been rescued from different parts of the country, and they have different reasons for being orphans. Some of them, we know exactly what has happened to the mothers, and that's why we rescued them. Others, we are really not very sure. But since they were found all alone when they are still at a very young age, at an age where they would not have survived without the mother's milk, and also without protection against other dangers, that is why we had to come in, so that we can help rescue them, hand-rear them here in the nursery for approximately 3 years. And any time after the age of 3, we will start to reintroduce all the elephants back into the world. We always reintroduce them to Tsavo East National Park and Kibwezi Forest, a process that takes a minimum of about 5 years before they start to make friends among the wild herds. And once they all get adapted, then we set them free and let them become wild once again. And when we see that happen, then we can say we've achieved our target. Our main target here is to rescue them since they have been found orphans, hand-rear them, and later on reintroducing them back into the world. The Sheldrick Wildlife Trust is rescuing these babies from all over the country, and they all have different reasons for being orphans. Some of them, the mothers have been killed by poachers due to trade in ivory. Some have been separated from their families by human beings, what we call human-wildlife conflict, and very few of them, the mothers have died from natural reasons like old age, natural diseases, and starvation back into the world. And all this has happened to the mothers when the babies are still very young, at an age where they would not have survived without the mother's milk, and also without protection against other dangers. And so that is why we have to make sure that we give them a second chance to survive back into the world. Otherwise, they will all have died. So the elephants will be joining us anytime now, and they will be coming in smaller groups for easier feeding. At the moment, we've got 2 elephants in front, Lugard and Ziwadi, who are joining us. But also Mukoka wants to overtake them because he always is the first one when it is time for feeding. Mukoka is a 2-year-old elephant who was rescued from northern part of Tsavo East National Park, a place called Idumba. He was identified by aerial surveillance who were on patrol, who found this baby all alone within the park, observed him for some time, hoping for the mother to come back and collect the baby, but none existed, which meant that he was an orphan. And that is the reason to why a decision was made to rescue him. He was as young as 7 months, right now approximately 2 years old. Next to Mukoka, we've got an elephant by the name Nabulu, who is approximately Nabulu is approximately 3 years old. And Nabulu was rescued from the Masai Mara and identified all alone within the park. We also have Ziwadi close to me, who is 2 years old. And Ziwadi was rescued from the Masai Mara. She was identified all alone within the park while at the age of about a year old. We suspect she might have been abandoned or left behind by the rest of the family members. but could not tell exactly what caused that abandonment to happen. When she came in the nursery, we realized that she was not following the rest of the group. She was either being left behind or going the opposite direction. And later on, we discovered that she's epileptic and so had to put her on medication, and she's actually improving. And we expect her to be back to normal and go back into the wild when it is time ready. On my right, we've got the youngest elephant that we've got in the nursery. Her name is Naleku, and Naleku is approximately 10 months old. Naleku was rescued from the Masai Mara. This was after the mother had died from a natural disease. The baby left all alone at the age of about 6.5 to 7 months old, and that's why we rescued her. We also have Lugard, who is about almost 4 years old, who was rescued from Sava Conservation Area near the Lugard Falls, who was found with a bad injury in the knee, and that's why you might have realized that he is limping. He's an elephant that will be able to go to Kibwezi Forest when it is right time for him. I do have an elephant by the name Rojo on the other side, who is approximately 14 months old and happens to be the second youngest and the overall youngest boy. And Rojo was rescued actually from Sava West National Park. The mother believed to have been killed by poachers, and that's why he was left alone while at a young age of about 7 months. Right now he's approximately 14 months and adjusting well. I do have an elephant on the other side by the name Musiara, who is over 3 years old. And Musiara was rescued from the Masai Mara, identified all alone within the park while at the age of about 1 month, without the mother and without the rest of the family members, which is not normal and also not safe. And that's why we rescued him, because at 1 month he was just very lucky to be found still alive. Next to me is Maisha, who is about over 3 years old. And Maisha was rescued from Sava Conservation Area. She is a drought victim. Her mother is believed to have died from starvation due to drought, and that's why she was left alone. We do have the second oldest, an elephant by the name Tamiyui, at 3.5 years old, almost 4 years, having been rescued from Samburu, found fallen down a well, all alone while at the age of about 1 month. Nobody knows exactly the whereabouts of the mother and the rest of the family members, and that's why we rescued her, because at 1 month she could not have survived all by herself. We do have Kiasa right at the top of the hill, and Kiasa is approximately almost 3 years. Kiasa was rescued from Sava Conservation Area. She is a drought victim. Her mother is believed to have died from starvation due to drought, and that's why Kiasa was left alone. I have an elephant by the name Maktau on my right, if you're joining us now, and Maktau is 2.5 years old. Maktau was rescued from Sava Conservation Area. He was found in our community all alone while at the age of about 3 months. Nobody knows exactly the whereabouts of the mother, but being found in our community suspects that he might have been separated from his family by human beings, and so he's a victim of human-wildlife conflict. Following behind the keeper is an elephant by the name Laro, and Laro is approximately 2 years old. Laro was rescued from the Masai Mara within the Olaro Conservancy. She was identified all alone and believed to have been separated from her family by human beings when she was about 6 months. Right now approximately 2 years old, and so far adjusting well in the nursery. We've got Enkesha right behind here, who is holding a stick in the mouth. And Enkesha is approximately over 3 years. Enkesha was rescued from the Masai Mara. She was found trapped in a snare all around her trunk. That's why we rescued her. When she came in the nursery in the first place, we called in the vets to come and stitch the trunk back to normal, a surgery that was successfully done. But after a few days before the wound was healed, the elephant managed to take off all the stitches from the trunk. And that's why you might have realized part of it is still open, but she's healing well. I have got Ndololo on my right, and Dololo is about almost 3 years. Dololo was rescued from Sava Conservation Area near a place called Dololo. He was found floating down a waterhole all alone, very thin, very weak, very much dehydrated and emaciated. And the status he was found in could tell that he had been alone for a very long time and was as well starving, and that's why we rescued him. We do have Satao on the other side, and Satao is about 3 years old, over 3 years. Satao was rescued from Sava Conservation Area near a place called Satao. The mother is believed to have been killed by poachers, and that's why he was left alone while at the age of about 4 months. Right now he's over 3 years old and so far doing alright in the nursery. Walking away from Satao is Kyombo, who is about 2.5 years, having been rescued from the Masai Mara and identified all alone. We've got a total of 18 elephants in the nursery. We haven't talked about Naboishu, who is right here, who happens to be the latest arrival that we've got in the nursery. And Naboishu has been with us for almost 2 weeks now. He was rescued from the Masai Mara, the mother also having died from a natural disease, and that's why we rescued him. Biggest in size at the far end is Tagua, at approximately 4 years old. She also happens to be the main matriarch, the mother figure, the leader of all the elephants that we've got in the nursery. She was rescued from Mount Kenya forest, and this was after she had been separated from her family by human beings. She was only 8 months old by then, right now approximately 4 years, and any time from now, ready to go back into the world and start the process of being reintroduced. So I believe that is a total of 18 elephants that we've got in the nursery at the moment, all under our care for the first 3 years before we take them to Tsavo East National Park and Kibwezi Forest, start the process of being reintroduced back into the world, a process that will take them a minimum of about 5 years as they go out in the park interacting with different groups of wild elephants and coming back, going out every day in the company of the keepers and coming back until the time the wild herds will invite them in their families. And once they all get invited in a herd of wild elephants, they'll be protected against all other dangers out in the world. They'll be shown everything within the park. They'll be warned against human beings. And so they will have become as wild as any other elephant out there. When we see that happen, we can successfully say we've achieved our target, because our main target here is to rescue them since they were found orphans, hand-reared them, and later on reintroducing them back into the world. So if you're joining us now, welcome. We are at the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust, Nairobi Nursery. We take care of orphan baby elephants, rhinos, and later on reintroducing them back into the world. We also have other projects that we undertake in the nursery, and these projects, together with the elephants and rhinos, we are working together with the Kenya Wildlife Service to ensure that all animals are safe in the parks. That's why you can see the elephants or the orphans are relaxed here at the moment, feeding on the vegetation after they have finished the milk. After this place, they'll head out in the park. We open to Nairobi National Park. The elephants will guard every day in the morning at 6, so that they have the whole park to roam around and go where they want to go and do what they want to do as wild elephants. learning by natural instinct how to behave. And this is because elephants actually they only need direction. Most of their behaviors are instinct. They only need direction and they know what to do. And that's why we set them in a wild environment. They'll be smelling on different types of vegetation. They know what is right for them to feed on and what is not. They know where to go and how to play around in the park all by themselves. So the keepers will always accompany them and provide protection whenever needed. We also feed them on intervals of 3 hours day and night, and that's why they need the keepers out in the park all day. Every 3 hours, the milk will go out to where the elephants are for them to be fed on, until at 5 when they come back for bed. Spend the night in the rooms. We bring them back for bed in the stockades because we are open to Nairobi National Park, which has got lots of other wild animals, including the lions and the hyenas, which might be dangerous to these baby elephants because they are still young. And that is also the reason why we have the keepers out in the park with them to provide protection. While in the rooms, those elephants that are below the age of 2 years have a keeper spending the night in the rooms. This is for the purposes of feeding them on demand when they are under the age of 1 year, and every 3 hours after the age of 2 years. After the age of 1 year. And then after 2 years, we start to set them spend the night all by themselves so that they can start to learn what will happen when they go down to Savo. In the rooms, the keeper is also to provide protection and company, because elephants are social animals. They always stay in groups and families. They have already lost their families. When they came in the nursery, we became part of the family members. And that's why we have to be in the rooms at night when they're still young as well. And also for the purposes of covering them with blankets to make sure that they're kept warm, because elephants are very much susceptible to pneumonia. And it is very difficult to treat pneumonia in elephants. Difficult because you cannot tell the signs in advance. And this is because elephants cannot cough. Their lungs are attached to the rib cage. By the time you realize that it is pneumonia they're suffering from, it's already too late. The lungs are saturated. You'll see some water dropping from the trunk, and you lose them within a short time. And that's why they have to spend the night in a room and have a keeper to cover them with blankets to ensure that they are kept warm. You might be wondering, how does this apply in the world? Elephants will always stay in groups and families. All the babies, all the young ones are surrounded by the rest of the bigger group, and they'll get heat from the bigger ones. Here we only have a bunch of orphans who are all still young, who are not related. And that's why we improvise the stockades and we improvise the blankets to provide the warmth that they would have gotten from the rest of the family members out there. You might also be asking yourself, which type of milk are we feeding them? It is obvious that we cannot milk a wild elephant and get the real milk. And at the same time, we cannot feed them on cow's milk, since cow's milk has got lots of fats, and elephants are poor in fat digestion. So if you feed them on cow's milk, they will diarrhea to death. And that's why we feed them on a human baby formula, whose fats are being emulsified to make it easier for the babies to digest. It took the founder of this place, the late Dr. Daphne Sheldrick, about 28 years to discover that this is the right formula for them. Before that, she used the try and error method and lost most of the first orphans. Once she pioneered this formula, most orphans have survived and gone back into the world. And that's why it is believed to be close to the real mother's milk. And that's why we feed them on intervals of 3 hours day and night. One of the big elephants take about 24 liters of milk in a day, and the two tiny babies take about 14 liters of milk in a day. So if you're joining us now, we are at the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust, Nairobi Nursery, where we take care of orphan baby elephants and rhinos, and later on reintroducing them back into the wild. And you can help support what the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust is doing by going on our website and donating on what you like to help. You can donate to buy a bottle of milk for these elephants. You can also donate towards funding the other projects that are being done by the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust, like the mobile veterinary units, the anti-poaching teams, the community project. You can also help by adopting an elephant online, which is costing $50 a year. You just go on a website, find how to adopt an elephant. You'll find a list of all the elephants that we've got, the elephants in the Nairobi Nursery, elephants at Kibwezi Forest, elephants at the Dumba Stockades, elephants at Voi Stockades. You get to pick an elephant of your choice and open an account where we will be updating you every month and letting you know all that is happening in all these centers that we reintroduce them to as well. You can adopt an elephant for yourself, or you can do it as a gift to somebody. And if you do it as a gift, it is a gift recipient that will receive the updates every month. But if you do it for yourself, it's you that will receive the updates every month. So you can help support the works of the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust by going on our website and donating towards any project that you are interested in helping. Just to remind you again, the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust is working together with the Kenya Wildlife Service to ensure that all animals are safe in the parks. And that is why we've got the anti-poaching teams that will go around the parks looking for snares and desnaring them. That's why we got the mobile veterinary units that will treat any animal that is been found out there with any injuries. They get treated and set free to continue with their own natural lives. That's why we've got a community project that will go around the communities that are neighboring the parks and the reserves, educating them on how to stay peacefully coexisting with one another and neighboring one another with these wild animals. Also going to schools neighboring the parks and the reserves, giving education to the children on how to protect and care for these animals. Because when they're fully grown, they should have the knowledge on how to behave and what to do when they encounter them, and they'll be able to help protect and care. So all that is actually being done by the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust, working together with the Kenya Wildlife Service. Well, you might have realized some pushing around. All elephants have different characters, just like human beings. And some are very social, some are very friendly, some are very shy, some are very naughty, and some are very bully as well. So that is why you might have realized a lot of pushing around, which is normal, and it also happens with human beings as well. You can just see what I'm talking about. That was Nabulu trying to bully one of the new ones, Naboishu. So if you're joining us now, we are at the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust Nairobi Nursery, The elephants have already finished the milk feed at 3 p.m. here in Kenya. They've been feeding on the greens, and in a short while, they'll be going out into the park to continue with the rest of the day until at 5 in the evening when they come back for bed. You might have realized we're bringing you these live views because of what is happening in the whole world at the moment. We realize how people have been closed in the rooms, and so you can't go out or go to another country if you like to come and see the babies. And that's why we're bringing you these live views so that you can get to see them right from your sitting room. And so the elephants stay in the nursery for 3 years before they go to Savo, where we reintroduce them back into the world. And they stay here in the nursery under a 24-hour care, all day out in the park in the company of the keepers, and also at night in the rooms as well. We've got Ziwadi enjoying his feed on the greens all alone most of the time. She's feeding on her own, or sometimes closer to Lugard, the other side. So the elephants will be heading back into Nairobi National Park for the rest of the day. The elephants will be heading back into Nairobi National Park for the rest of the day, always in the company of the keepers. We want to believe you've enjoyed what we brought to you today, and we will be bringing you more of these live feedings here from the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust, Nairobi Nursery. And we want to urge you to stay safe, strong, and healthy from wherever you are as we continue to take care of these babies here in the nursery. Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll bring you more live feeds on Saturday.